Now my next guy is David Hume, a Scotsman.
Oh.
So he grew up very religious during the Calvinist era in Scotland. And his parents kind of forced him to go into like the legal field. And he was like, nah, this is too boring. I'm gonna go to even more boring stuff, philosophy.
Hey, watch it.
Joking. Then later on, he moved to France, where he, because he was so constrained during his childhood, he kind of like, when he moved, he was like, nah, I'm doing what I want. So he moved to France.
Oh, because he had a religious background, or?
Yeah, he was he was very strict when he was growing up. So he moved to France, and then he started offending people in France.
It's not that hard to
By
do.
criticizing religion again. Another guy that criticizes religion. He criticized his own religion that he was raised in, and any other religion that was out there. And he tried to apply for a lot of like schooling positions so he could be a teacher, but because of his outspoken criticisms, no school was like, we don't want you here. We don't want you like brainwashing our kids with your non-religious views.
With your reason.
Be careful there. So he then focused more on philosophy, and he kind of started focusing on the human nature and studying the human nature from kind of a scientific point of view. So what's the science behind the human nature?
Okay.
And he thought that by explaining the human nature scientifically, therefore we can explain all the other sciences that the human has invented, like math, politics, all the other sciences.
Don't they explain themselves? Or maybe he was just trying to find the...
How we got there.
Yeah, how did we get there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like how could humans create that, maybe? Be capable of that.
Okay.
So he noticed that most philosophers before him would use hypotheticals. So he wanted more to observe and explain the human nature through from like experience.
Oh, okay.
From like, oh, I'm doing this happens.
So he was genuinely looking for a scientific method in philosophy.
Yeah, for literally like a scientific explanation.
Right.
He wanted to exclude any religious views and reasons why people would do that, like why people would consider murder, as you've said before. Why do people consider murder wrong from a non-religious point of view?
Right. So he wanted to find morality outside religion. Well, at least this guy is a little more uplifting. He believes there is morality outside religion.
Yeah. He's not questioning morality. He's just like, he just wants to understand how thought works.
Right.
He got a lot of inspiration from Newton, and that's why his approach was more practical, based on actual fact.
It's very interesting. Maybe he shouldn't have studied philosophy. Maybe he should have went into
Actual science.
Right. It sounds like a very different approach.
Yeah, he basically just wanted facts and proof, like physical proof. He hoped to succeed in examining the mind, the way that Newton explained the power that governs the planets, and not by attributing this power to a supernatural source, but by actually finding explanation through math and physics and all of that. But then again, if you think of it...
So wouldn't he use medicine?
Yeah, he's using all these sciences that the human... Maybe it's kind of like a backward thing where you use the end to explain the beginning.
I get that, but I'm confused. I'm very confused about how was he going about it.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not done.
I'll be patient.
It's okay. So he wanted to find the laws, literally like Newton, finding laws by which the human mind functions.
Right.
And he called these mind actions as perceptions, and how they combine and create even more complex perceptions, which are known as thought, belief, feeling, and action.
Okay.
Thought, belief, feeling, and action, these are all known as perception. That's how he called them.
I see.
Like kind of like a general
Yeah, like an umbrella
term. Yes. And he thinks that all of these are connected and influenced by the experience we've had.
Oh, no shit.
Like all the experiences through life. So kind of like it's influenced by where you grew, like all these outside factors and all you've been through.
Oh, so maybe he was studying psychology. He didn't know it.
Kind of, because he gets into like terms, and which I'm not getting too detailed, but these ones are the ones that I actually found interesting. So like we talked about perceptions.
When did this guy live?
In the 1700s.
Oh, so he was way before psychology. Freud was born in 1856, so much later.
So Nietzsche was more of a Freudian boy.
I don't know what that means, and I doubt I want to. Did he like to talk about his mom?
Who, Nietzsche?
Don't answer.
Okay, back to Hume. So, perceptions, right?
Right, perceptions.
So they're divided. They divide into two. He divided them into two sections, which are impressions and ideas. Impressions are like sensations, desires, passions, and emotions.
Okay, it makes sense.
So those are impressions. And then ideas are the faint images of all of the above.
Oh.
Okay, let me give you an example. So the difference between the impressions and ideas. So it's the difference between the feeling of pain when you stab your toe in the corner of the sofa. That's an impression because it's pain. You feel the pain, the sensation of pain. And then the idea is remembering.
Oh, it hurts.
Yeah.
I get it.
Do you get it? Yeah. And
oh, so it was sort of, because the first category was how would you call them, reflexes?
It's about, and it's also about,
and then the second one is more
the idea of them,
the
but
that's
thought,
a very weird way, the thought of it,
of that emotion.
Okay,
kind of like that. It gets much more complicated. But
does it get weird?
I didn't actually go that far into researching these guys, but this is kind of the way in which he wanted to literally scientifically analyze the mind and human nature.
It's very interesting.
It's interesting. He literally wanted to explain the human, just like Newton explained the planets and the movements and that. But he kind of wanted to explain the thought that way, like how we think, maybe.
Right. I find it interesting because he does sound like he was looking for psychology. But in a little, like, there is method in psychology. You would apply certain procedures to have a certain outcome. But I'm more confused. Like, what exactly was he looking for? Because I'm not sure if it's medical. If he would actually want to watch two neurons.
No, I didn't think so.
Sort of.
It was more of the idea of thought and how do we get thoughts? Like, what's the mechanism behind that? Because it's not neurological, is it? I think that's what he wanted to find out. Because I'm like, do I get the thought of wanting to stab myself with the scissors from where? From wanting.
You lost me.
No, but like, okay, so let's say the impulse. You know, the impulse of when maybe you haven't lived it, but I know people that do. When they're on the edge of a building, they feel the impulse to jump.
Right.
Where is that coming from? Maybe that's what he wanted to explain.
I'm not entirely sure. It's not I want to jump. It's just vertigo, isn't it?
No, some people want to jump. Is it curiosity? Is it what? Not even getting to what the feeling is. It's like, why am I getting this feeling? Like, what's the mechanism in my brain? Mind. It's not a brain thing, it's a mind thing.
Okay, so he was looking for psychology then.
Yes, I think so.
He didn't he didn't have an interest, a medical interest in
No,
it.
he didn't mention any medical terms,
Right.
but he called it philosophy.
I get it, I think. Your guy was looking for psychology and he didn't even know it. But psychology is a much recent science, and that's what I find interesting is that this guy was 2 centuries apart before psychology was a thing. That's very interesting. The 20th century was a very interesting time period because I think due to 2 world wars, life moved very fast.
Yeah.